I've been paddleboarding quite a bit over the years, so super excited to take this one out because it's noticeably wider than most inflatable paddleboards I've used. Plus, I really want to test it out with my blue heeler and my children, and honestly, my blue heeler is probably the most excited one here. Everything packed super nicely into this backpack, so I loaded up all of our life jackets, I threw the bag on my back, and I walked everything down to the water. I'm about 135 pounds, and I didn't think it was difficult to carry. It felt manageable, even with everything packed inside. When I unpacked everything, I liked that it came with basically everything I needed to get started. Inside the backpack, you have the board, there's the pump, the paddle. It has three removable fins. There's one larger one and two smaller ones. There's the ankle leash, the waterproof phone pouch, a 10-liter dry bag, the repair kit, and instructions. Setup was pretty straightforward. I feel like it was pretty user friendly. The instructions mentioned that the first inflation usually takes a little bit longer than future uses, and that seemed pretty accurate for me. One thing I really appreciated was the pump has a separate like inflate and deflate settings, so it's pretty easy to know if you're using it correctly. And then my girls even wanted to help pump it up for a few minutes, which made it kind of fun. I kept an eye on the pressure gauge and I inflated it to around 13 psi, which is right where the instructions recommend. And then once it reached pressure, the board felt super solid. One feature I really liked is the valve. Once you disconnect the pump, it's a nice one-way like spring valve, so you don't have to rush or worry about air escaping while you're putting everything away. After that, I attached the paddle, I installed the three fins, I packed the pump back into the backpack, and then I carried the paddleboard down to the dock. The first thing I personally noticed once I got in the water was how stable it felt. It was actually a pretty windy day, and the water was way more choppier than I normally like for paddleboarding. But since I had my dog with me, I decided to stay on my knees instead of just standing, just to play it safe. But honestly, if I had been out there by myself, I would have felt pretty comfortable standing up. The extra width definitely made a difference compared to some of the more narrow boards I've used before in the past. But even with waves coming through, the board never felt like it wanted to tip. Neither my dog nor I ever felt unstable. And then later, my husband and daughter decided to take it out as well. And then everyone commented on how solid it felt. Because it is a wider board, it does take just a tiny bit more effort to turn compared to more like narrow paddle boards, but it wasn't enough to bother me. For me, the extra stability is absolutely worth that small trade-off. And then I also love that there's several like carrying handles around the board. There's lots of D-rings if you want to attach gear, and even a built-in mount on the front if you want to attach an action camera and record your time in the water. But probably my favorite test though, the dog test. So my blue heeler moved around, looked over the edges, shifted his weight quite a bit, and the board handled it super well. He absolutely loved being out there. Overall, I think this would be such a great option for someone who's looking for a stable, inflatable paddleboard for themselves, or paddling with kids, or bringing their dog along. It was easy enough for me to set up by myself, comfortable in the water, and everything packs back into one backpack when you're finished. But thank you so much to the brand for sending this paddleboard for me to try. These are my honest thoughts after taking it out on the water.